Drink it in, man.
Back, pressure card, gonna get hit, gonna go down, sack back outside the 50-yard line. Ziggy did it.
Drink it in, man.
They've got a man wide open. Golden at the 10, Golden at the 5, Golden to the house. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. There it is. Been looking for that all night. Cornbread. Touchdown, Detroit Lions.
Drink it in, man.
Detroit Koolaid, what is going on, everybody? We are back, and I'm here with Grifka. Grifka, what's going on, buddy?
Yeah, still living the dream.
You might be living the dream, Grifka, but this past Sunday against Minnesota was not a dream. We're going to get right to it, but before we do that, we got to talk about what's going on with our Lions. Since Sunday, moving into this week, there's no better place to start, Grifka, than talking about Ziggy. You said we couldn't talk about him until he played. He got it on the field. I have here that he played only about 12 snaps, but I did see a sack and some pressures. What do you got to say now, buddy?
He's the freshest guy on the team right now. I mean, congratulations. Golf clap, congratulations. I will, we'll see.
You weren't
we'll see
impressed by that sack at the end of the half that took a possible touchdown off the board? You didn't see any flashes from this guy? Remind you why he's so good?
I'll deadpan this for you. No.
Oh boy. Okay. I didn't think you'd give him any credit, but I was not only glad to see he was out there, but recording here on Wednesday, heard that he had said after the game felt amazing. It didn't sound like any lingering issues, so we won't have to deal with that every week. I expect 94 to be back out there and hopefully getting a lot more snaps than 12 and making some plays. So I'm sure you'll be real excited when that happens. When it helps our team win, I'm sure you'll golf clap it, right, Grifka?
Yeah, exactly.
So any other injuries that are on tip of your tongue? I mean, I'm trying to think them through. Like, we've got TJ banged up again, huh?
Yeah, that's starting to become a weekly thing. And I know, once again, the O-line drops off when Wiggins is in there. So hopefully this doesn't linger too long, but it sounds like it's going to.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but when he went down again, you could see it on that return. He just kind of got hit from the side and started grabbing his head. I said, not really joking either. I was kind of like, oh, man, his career's over. But it's just been a really tough go. And I was kind of looking at the contract numbers. The guy's up in the $12 million range for next year. So, I think he's a great guy, great locker room, but $12 million for a guy that's banged up. I don't even know if you see him again this year, to be honest. I'd be surprised.
Yeah, I can understand if he's out the rest of the year and then just decides to retire. Once again, your health is a lot more than just playing football. So then I saw, was it Slay? Slay was dinged up a little bit as well. So I'm not quite for sure what he's going to be, but it sounded like he practiced, but not a full practice. But I know he got dinged up a little bit too in that game.
Yeah, I was just about to bring him up. Your boy, Big Play Slay, and it's weird, Grifka. He doesn't have many big plays this year, but every game, he, even though he hasn't had a killer year, every game he seems to jump off with some nice plays, or he's pretty consistent. I know his number too jumps from 6 million up to 12, 13 million next year, which is a big jump, but he still seems to be worth it as that number one corner.
Yeah, he's definitely the number one defensive back on the team, and even what he's getting paid, I like what he's getting paid. So, no big deal keeping him around for what he's costing at.
Yeah, he's been fighting through some injuries too, and still coming up big on most Sundays. Had a few issues in coverage, but still like him. So big play. Keep doing what you're doing. We hope those guys are able to get over the injuries, but those are kind of the main injuries. A few other nicks here and there, but nothing too big. I did see this week, the Lions are the healthiest team basically in the NFL with overall guys hurt and then also guys that they've had to IR. We have the least amount. So that's another, normally it'd be a great item, and right now it's not a great item because we just have not played well these last couple weeks. We'll get into that. Grifka, last two items we just want to hit on quickly. The Lions brought in Brandon Marshall for a tryout, and they also got rid of Amir. What are your thoughts on that? And then I want to say that I liked Bruce Ellington, who they brought in. I've liked his game. He's kind of a shifty slot guy. And they brought back your boy Double Z. What do you think about it, Grifka?
I'm glad they didn't sign Brandon Marshall. I think he's pretty much done. And then Amir gone. Oh, gosh, I was popping champagne bottles, and I'm, texting all my friends, except you, because I know he was cheap and you really liked his pay this year. But, oh, my gosh, nothing's better than watching him leave. And, hey, don't let the door hit you on the way out. And, Zach Zenner, he just gives them a little more on special teams, at least on coverage or something like that, other than, having to worry about Zach Zenner fumbling the ball on a kick return. So bringing him back, I'm okay with that. He might be the short yardage guy, when, I don't know, it seems like LeGarrette Blount's getting it, but it just seems like LeGarrette Blount isn't producing like we thought he would, but that can be another story. So Zach Zenner, he's going to be the healthy scratch every week like Amir was.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. B. Marsh, to me, not only is he way past his days, and even they tried to put him as he might be a red zone threat this year. To me, we already have a couple big bodied, lanky type receivers. What we need is that little water bug, shifty guy underneath. And that's what I think Ellington could bring. It'd probably take him a little time to get up to speed. I know you've always hated on Amir Abdullah. It did just come across the wire before we started recording that Amir is headed to Minnesota of all places. Everybody seems to stay in the NFC North. So, they've had some injuries, but they're getting healthy in the running back room. So be surprised if he kind of can crack and make an impact. But I was hoping he'd go somewhere where he could carve out a role and see if this guy didn't have it or if he just got buried sort of by the Lions, which we've known has happened in the past. So, we'll see what happens. And then to me, Zach Zenner is a guy that, I was always sort of down on. I thought once he was cut, he was definitely heading to the medical field. But, he's back on the team. And he gives us a little bit of consistency, but a lack of explosiveness. So I don't know. Will that help the team, or will he just be that healthy scratch? We'll see as everything comes up. So just hit on some real quick news and notes. Grifka, you ready to talk about this Vikings game?
Yeah, because we have to.
Before we get to that, like you say, another depressing game to talk about. We're gonna be short on the game, talk about some other things, but I promised the people, Grifka, and it's here. The Grifka Bell is in the building, so everybody that's been listening to the podcast, they know that our man Grifka has a bunch of catchphrases, a bunch of go-tos, a bunch of conspiracies, a bunch of throwbacks to the 1970s and 80s. So I'll be using the bell week to week when I feel it's necessary to sort of hit on some of these Grifka-isms, as I call them, when he brings them up. So look for that in today's show when appropriate. And Grifka, we went up to Minnesota and we just got our tails whooped by the Minnesota Vikings. There's 4 main topics I want to hit on, and then we're going to put this game behind us. So I don't have to say much more, but talk to the people for a couple minutes about the protection of the Detroit Lions, the offensive line. What in the heck happened on Sunday?
I don't know. I know part of it is people still point to TJ Lang, getting hurt and coming out of the game, and Wiggins being the weak link on the offensive line. But Taylor Decker, to me, is just, I don't know if there's something really wrong with him, because more and more Taylor Decker to me is looking like he's looking like Jeff Backus. For all the fans that complained about us having Jeff Backus, yeah, there it is. It's going to be like Pavlov's dog. Whenever you ring the bell, my mouth is going to water. But he's like Taylor Decker to me. He's looking like the guy he's going to be out there for, he'll be in the Detroit Lions uniform for 10 years, and he'll be okay. He'll be, for lack of a better term, solid. I don't even know if solid's a good term for it, but for like I said, for all the times people complained about Backus, saying he didn't get it done, he didn't do this well. He was always, I've heard him called Jeff Blockless and, Jeff on his Backus and stuff like that. I've heard all those, but there was a couple plays where it looked like Taylor Decker was like standing in cement and the guy Everson Griffin just like went around him. So that's not what your left tackle is supposed to be. I mean, I'm not saying he's Jackie Slater or Joe Thomas, but oh my gosh, he just looked awful bad, and you could have rang the bell right there because both those guys are old school guys. So, yeah, he was struggling, and then Rick Wagner once again it just didn't look like he had a good game. I swear, I heard on Monday that Matt Stafford was walking through Kroger picking up some groceries, and Daniil Hunter sacked him again. So he didn't realize it. It was just he came out of nowhere, much like the game. It was just Wagner didn't look good. Decker didn't look good, and it's bad when both your tackles just get beat up bad. So I have no idea.
Did Daniil Hunter remind you somebody of the past, Grifka, maybe?
Oh, from the Vikings or just in general? I mean, he might have been a little Joey Browner, but Joey Browner was more of a linebacker safety, but he wasn't a D end. I mean, I guess and he wasn't John Randall because John Randall was a defensive tackle.
What about your?
Brian
What about?
Robertson? I mean, whatever. He was there.
I'm trying to tee you up. What about the two people you love to bring up every show? A guy that used to play for Green Bay, and then a guy on the New York Giants that came off the edge. Give it to the people.
He wasn't Reggie White, or he's nowhere near Lawrence Taylor. I mean, give me a break.
Oh man, okay, that's what we're looking for. So let me jump in here with the protection. Like, to me, you already hit on it. I mean, Taylor Decker, I don't know what's happened with this guy. I thought he was a locked-in stud, and he's just fallen off a lot. Now, it could be injury-based, but when you watch the game, you're just kind of thinking, yeah, he's like not getting off the ball. Chris Spielman's always bagging on him because he's giving tells, as he calls them, of what's coming up. Then you got Ricky Wagner over there on the right side. This guy's like a mute. He never says peep one, but this guy's just getting owned over there on the right side. I mean, it was embarrassing to watch. I just thought, what are these guys thinking when not only were they not blocking well, but I thought the effort was just piss poor. It was just I had never seen a performance like that from our O-line or any in the NFL, where it just felt like they were crumbling at the snap, and then as they were crushing our quarterback, it's just four of our Lions guys standing over the top of our fallen quarterback with didn't even seem to care. Like, it was just I don't know. It just, the effort and the ability, I don't know what happened, but I fell off the map.
Yeah, I've seen defensive performers. I mean, you usually see stuff like that in college, where a defensive line just beats the crap out of an O-line of an inferior team. But I mean, that happens every once in a while in the pros. I mean, everybody remembers the body bag game that Buddy Ryan had for the Eagles against the Cowboys, however many years ago on Monday night, where they just beat the crap out of Troy Aikman. But I mean, it happens every once in a while, but you don't want it to happen to your team. And it was one of those things where it was just so bad. It seemed like every time Stafford dropped back, and like somebody was in his face. He didn't have any time, and people are like, I mean, don't get me wrong, that play where Matt Stafford just pretty much threw the ball as hard as he could at Kerryon Johnson that led to the fumble. That it was one of those things that it's like, why'd you do that? I'm like, I could see why. He's been the rest of his game on the back. Why would he want to get hit again? I mean, you're right. He probably could have ran for 5 yards and maybe got out of bounds without getting decked, but he was getting drilled all game long. And when he wasn't getting sacked, he was getting pressure, and he was getting hit right after he threw the ball. So I can see why he was like, here, Kerryon, you take the hot potato, you take the smashing, because the offensive line isn't blocking for anybody today.
I guess so. I mean, we'll get to Stafford here in a minute. If I got to, I don't want to let him off the hook right here on the protection part. Like, part of the protection is him at the line of scrimmage. And, I mean, I'm going to talk about that flip play at the end, but I do not like Matt Stafford's pocket presence when things don't go perfectly. I mean, he seems to freak out. He seems to lose his vision downfield, his composure. I watch these other games, Deshaun Watson is bouncing on his tippy toes, making all these different moves, getting out of pressure. Tom Brady's standing there basically flat-footed with 10 guys around him and doesn't even flinch. and our quarterback is always running for his life, or he's just not making those plays on the run. The best he does is like, at least he needs to take off a little bit more and get us 4 or 5 yards and go down. Not these go run backwards, cower, and then get sacked. So I think it's partly on him too. I mean, I'm beating up the offensive linemen and they deserve it, but number 9 was not good as far as throwing the football away, escaping pressure. He said something about, I got to find the check down quicker. No, we don't want you to find the check down quicker. We want you to make throws, on time down the field. And yeah, if everything else fails, get to your check down. But number 9 has a lot of culpability in this game. He's got to be way better. But I mean, we could talk about this for days, Grifka, but let's talk about our red zone issues. And again, this comes down to number 9, the offensive line, and penalties. Again, all 3 of those kicked us out of good scoring position, where we're first and goal inside the 5, and next thing you know, we're back at the 20. Like, what is going on with our red zone with Kenny Galladay, Marvin, and our run game? We should be much better down there.
Well, I mean, I don't want to harp on an issue, but I think part of it was, hey, they were missing Golden Tate. That was always one of those guys that would run that little drag underneath.
Oh boy, here we go.
It's okay, but like I said, like nobody's been they didn't have a week to find a replacement for, and I know they threw Theo out there to run some slot plays, but that's kind of part of it right there. Like I said, you took away his favorite receiver down there in the red zone, and but once again, I mean, you can't blame that on the blocking issues. Like you said, they were first and 10 or first and goal, like you said, inside the 5, and then I I walk to go get something to drink, and I come back and they're back at the 10, and it's first and goal from the 10. I'm like, what happened? Well, it was that false start or whatever. It's just like, okay, I mean, good job offensive line. And then, like you said, then it was just, everything was just like a jailbreak. I mean, and I know there's those defensive schemes where it's just like they bring more people at one area than what there is to block, but it seemed like there was a couple times where like Glasgow and Ragnar were just kind of like standing there as like somebody ran a twist and they didn't know who to pick up, and you see them just kind of both standing there looking at each other as like 2 guys were just drilling Stafford, so, part of, like you said, the red zone, a lot of that was they just blitzed the crap out of Stafford when they got in there close, and the offensive line looked totally lost. It looked like preseason game 1. I mean, that was just how bad they looked on that. Stafford didn't have a good game, but I'm saying a lot of this on the offensive line, much like the Seattle game. The offensive line just looked terrible. They just seemed to, for all the confidence they had in Miami, the last 2 weeks, they just look like they couldn't stop a JV team right now.
Yeah, but to your point, I want to hit on the Golden Tate for 1 second, because there's a little validity of, you lose a guy like that, the first week out. I was hoping that Kenny would get a lot of rocks and, the run game would be going so you wouldn't really notice it. But, I mean, there's a little transition period there, which we have to think is going to happen. Like, hey, the next few weeks he'll learn to play without him. These other guys will hopefully gain his confidence. And, they'll be where I was hoping they would be this week, which they weren't. But, I mean, to me, again, the protection, like, you don't forget how to block in 2 weeks, and the coaching hasn't really switched. So something either happened, either effort or just, Minnesota was that good to make them look that bad, because this is a big game coming up against the Bears with a big pass rush, and they've got to be way better to survive. I mean, this cannot continue, and I don't think it will, but it was just one of those games where you just shake your head anomaly. Now, in the red zone, the big issue I'm having, again, is I haven't seen one jump ball to Kenny. I haven't seen any creativity down there. And it seems like we're still not pounding carry on. Like, I remember every time we're inside the 5, no matter how good, if we passed all the way to get down there, I'll be like, I go, let's pound him. That's what I always say, because I want 33 in the game, and I want to like run him either. This is a whole other topic, but he's pretty good. But I feel like where he's had a lot of success is those sweeps or like an edge where he'll bounce it and really turn up the speed. I didn't see any edge rushes down close to the goal line where he can run to the pylon or throughout the game. So, like, the red zone, they have to start identifying who these key players are that they can count on and say, when we get inside the 20, yeah, everybody knows we're going to throw the ball high to our 6'4" young receiver that can go get it. Hey, when we get really tight, there's no reason to bring in LeGarrette Blount. We know that we're going to give it to our young running back who runs with speed and power. Give him the football and block someone, and let's get in the end zone. So I'm sick of, stalling out, kicking, trying field goals. We got to score touchdowns to win football games, and it did not happen on Sunday. So, Grifka, we promised the people that we wouldn't talk a ton about this game, so let's get through these other two quick parts and move on. So, Dalvin Cook, 70-yard run. What the heck happened on that play? That's the one that really killed us offensively. Other than that, the Vikings weren't very good.
Right. Yeah, I don't think the defense played all that bad, per se. I mean, I don't think they were terrible. But I think the Dalvin Cook run, what happened there is they ran right at A'Shawn Robinson, and he either, couldn't get off the block, or he missed his gap or something like that, and it just left a massive hole for Dalvin Cook to run through. And he seems to be faster than anybody on the Lions defense. So I think that's what happened there. If you go back and watch the play, what happened to A'Shawn Robinson, either he missed his gap or he couldn't get off his block. I can't remember off the top of my head, but they ran that right at him. And the way A'Shawn's been playing lately, I mean, he's been playing pretty well, but I think that his over aggressiveness might have cost him on that play right there.
While I eat some Fritos while I'm mute, you're talking about A'Shawn. I feel like snacks. Pun intended, has been huge. I mean, he's been playing great football, jumping off the screen to me. And like you said, I don't think that he's been helping our run defense, but I feel like that run went out the left side, and just like you said, A'Shawn and probably our linebackers missed it, and he was just gone. Like, I was shocked that he didn't house call it. I think it was GQ or somebody that was able to get him to the ground, but to me, that was the biggest play and really the only play that killed us. Kirk Cousins didn't do much. Adam Thielen didn't do much. Like, as much as we're saying we just got our tails kicked in this game, all I did is kept looking at the score going, we're still in this game. Third quarter, hey, we're still in this game. All we got to do is make a play. Hey, one touchdown and a 2-point or whatever, and we're basically tied up. And then he rips that one off, and it puts us behind the 8 ball. And then let's talk about it for a couple seconds. I think we had just run, I want to say it was the fake punt. That was a great call. There was a few calls there where we really gave us a little life, and we could have went down and scored. It would have been a whole different game. But I want to say it was after that where Matt Stafford scrambling out to the right. As you said before, yeah, he's been getting beat up all game. But not only does he have nowhere to go, neither does Kerryon. And he flips it to him, and he drops the football, and it's returned for a touchdown. And that basically – ended the day, which, had we just went down, who knows, maybe go down and score a touchdown and can, be right in this football game. But it's on Kerryon for dropping it. It was in his hands. He should have caught it. But there's no reason to flip it. You're not going to get any extra yards other than, like you said, you're scared and don't want to be hit again. And I just hated it all the way around. A quarterback that's 10 years in can't do that. It's unexcusable.
Yeah, like I said, I touched on it earlier. I think the main reason Stafford got rid of that thing is because he got tired of just getting drilled all game, and he just didn't want to get hit again. I could be wrong, thinking, hey, if I run the option play, maybe they'll, Kerryon can bust one off down the sideline. But I think he was just getting tired of just getting beat the crap out of all day, and he's like, here, you take it.
There was no room whatsoever to run. He was basically at the sideline. He tossed it backwards.
Yeah.
Like, there was no, hey, he's going to do something with this ball. And I don't care about getting hit, man. This guy's a professional quarterback. Like, he's not Eli Manning. Like, you don't have to get hit. Hey, here's a thought, run out of bounds. Here's a thought, just go down like Peyton Manning used to do. If you don't want to get hit, you're already out of the pocket. Or, hey, throw it away. There's a good idea. This guy is too experienced and supposedly too smart, too good to be doing dumb crap like this. That cost us the game. That flip back and that pick six, or that take it to the house, that ended the game for us right there. And I want to say it was, late third quarter, fourth quarter? I mean, that's ball game right there, and that's right on number 9 in my opinion. So, like you say, let's stop dwelling on this game. Let's put it behind us. But offensive line was terrible. red zone issues were a huge issue, and Matt Stafford flipping the ball back for no reason, Kerryon not catching it, and then also not getting the guy on the ground. I felt like there was a couple guys that could have made a tackle. Instead, he scores. I mean, that's points right there. So, just a game where we feel like we got killed, even though like I thought it was winnable. As bad as we played in lots of facets, and we let it slip, and we walked away just kind of demoralized, which with a division game, that really hurts. So,
Agreed.
So another loss, Grifka, puts our Lions at 3-5 here on the Koolaid Cast. Let me rumble through. We're at the halfway point of the year. I know you love to do this. So you break down the season in quarters or halves or however you want to do it. But we're at the halfway point, 3-5, not where we wanted to be. Let me rumble through some positive and negatives, and then we'll let you respond to them. So
okay.
A few things I put down like positives. Kerryon Johnson, 13th in the NFL in rushing, and he's on pace to go over 1,000 yards. That's a positive for the Detroit Lions. Snacks, PFF's 4th ranked DT. I mean, we've only had him for a couple games, but I think that's a great acquisition. He's signed for a couple more years. It's a good building block. He's played great since he's been here. We got to understand that, as much people are harping on the Golden Tate, bringing in Snacks is a big move for this defense. Deshaun Hand, PFF's highest rated rookie DT. Now, I'm sure there's not a ton of rookie DTs making huge impacts, but he's been solid, and they have him ranked that way, and I've loved what I've seen from the young fella. We've got the progression of Kenny. We got Jared Davis playing some better football. And we've got Frankie Ragnow looking like a solid player. Those are all good things. Now let's get to the Grifkas. The negatives. We got Stafford playing inconsistent. He's on pace for his lowest yards of his career. We've got the 30th ranked run defense, Grifka. Are you kidding me? There's only 32 teams in the league. We're at 30. That's terrible. Inconsistent O-line play, as we talked about. These guys got to step up. We put high resources, draft, money into these bums, and they're playing like absolute stiffs. We got a tough schedule. We've got the Bears, the Panthers, the Bears again, the Rams, all coming up right in a row. And with our record not looking too good, you got to get a few of those games. And we just seen lots of regression from Tees, as we already talked about. Reeves Maven's not doing anything. Nevin Lawson's garbage. Like, the negatives. What do you got to say about that, Grifka?
Well, the positives, Kerryon, 13th, in the rushing 1,000-yard pace. I'm hoping that, like we had talked before, he doesn't hit a wall. Rookies, that can happen. He'll hit a wall, somewhere. Generally happens around like week 12, week 13, because that's all they're used to playing is that many games. And with everybody in the pros being, bigger, faster, stronger than, even though he came out of the SEC and everybody's like, oh, that's NFL, minor leagues. Still, though, everybody in the pros is an elite talent, even though, there's plenty of guys that we think suck. But everybody on the pros was the stud on their college team. So, him on, 13th in rushing, that's nice to see. That's a positive, especially for the future. Hopefully we have that back that can be here for a number of years, that we don't have to drop it in 3 years like Amir Abdullah. And, we can keep this guy around for a while and keep him healthy. Having Snacks in hand at Snacks in hand on the defensive line, that works as pretty well for a nice rotation.
Hold on, Grifka. I want to go back to Kerryon for 1 second.
Okay.
So, are you debating that he's going to get there or that he's good?
Am I debating that he's good?
Yeah. Or that he's going to hit this wall, as you say?
No, just in the past. I'm not saying just on lines. Like, rookies in general, will hit a wall in the pros. That's 16 weeks. You've been going since early August. You have your off-season workouts with the teams. Yeah, you have that in college, but you don't have the amount of workouts and, the amount of practice time in college that you do in the pros. And then that's all you're doing in the pros is football. And in college, you're playing 12, 13 games, with a bowl game. in the pros, I mean, you're going 16 games against the best competition in the world, where you don't get to play the Citadel 1 week, you don't get to play Southwest Missouri State 1 week. Even the teams that are terrible, all those guys that are on that team are still pros, and we're the elite talents on the college team.
I asked you, what do you think? Like, give me your 2 cents. I feel like we've only seen the tip of the iceberg of Carrion, and I feel the little bit that he's shown us, that I feel like our run game is set for the next, good bunch of years with him carrying the rock. Like, where are you at with this guy?
Yeah, I think he can be the Lions stud running back for the next 6, 7, 8 years.
6, 7, 8.
Well, the lifespan of a running back is 3 years in the NFL.
I'm set for the next few years, like 3 to 4, but not 6, 7, 8. I mean, this guy's a physical runner. He's 21 years old, but I wouldn't give him an 8-year career right now.
I wouldn't give him. I went 6 to 8. I mean, that's not terrible. I mean, 6 year.
I hope so.
6 to 8. That's. I mean, for your stud running back, you want to burn this guy out in 3 years to go draft somebody else? That doesn't make any sense.
I don't want to burn him out. I'm just not giving him an 8-year stud career. I'm giving him like, hey, the next 3-4 years, I think we're set at running back, and we need to start giving this guy the football. So the point I want to get to, Grifka, for the people and for the Bell,
well, why wouldn't you pace him enough to keep him around for 6, 7, 8 years, as opposed to, let's just beat him. I mean, that once again, that just doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, he's your best running back you've had in years. You're not getting some guy near the end of his career like Reggie Bush. You're not hoping some injury-prone guy like Javid Best. You're not taking a flyer on some guy like Amir Abdullah, which was a terrible pick to begin with. And yeah, really. And
I just said feed him. What are you arguing with me about?
I mean, I'm not going to burn him out and let's give him a 3-4 year career. Screw that. I want this guy to be like 6 to 8 years. That's good.
Nobody's burning anybody out. I'm just saying you just threw that out there like it was nothing when, like you said, the average career is like 4 to 6 years of actual good production, not 8 or 10 at the
No, not actual good production. The lifespan of a running back is 3 years. I mean, so
I know, but I'm saying
that's a guy like make of the team.
We're arguing for no reason right now. We're arguing for no reason. All I was saying is that I'm set with Carrion for the next year and probably 3 to 4 after that maximum as like a workhorse top end young running back, and you threw out 6 to 8 like he's just penciled in. Like he's penciled in the near future to be the guy, but by 6, 8 years, you don't even know who our quarterback or our team is like at that point. I mean, it could be a whole different situation. So I'm talking like short term coming up.
Shouldn't it be like the building block, or are you looking to trade him in 4 years for a third round pick?
He's a building block, and if all goes well, yeah, he'll be here and he'll be productive for your time span. I'm just saying you got a little aggressive there. I was just trying to get you to say, do you really think he's the number one set-in-stone guy, or do you want to see the classic Grifka where you got to see production for a decade first? I mean, that's what I was getting at.
I'm not saying a decade, but from what I've seen from him here, yeah, he could be the guy for, like I said, 6 to 8 years, and I would be happy with that.
Okay, well, everybody be happy with that, but that's a long time, man. But yeah, he's got the youth. He's only 21, and he's got the build and ability. But let's take it a little bit slower than that. Now, what I was trying to get to for the people was this: Grifka, do you think he'll get to 100 yards? Hit him with the phrase.
Do I want him to get 200 yards? Yes. Willie? No. Come on, 200 yards.
No.
200 yards is a lot of yards in a game. I mean that.
No, I know 1,000 for the 200. What are you talking about? 1,000 for the year.
Oh, I thought you said like 200 yards. I'm like, in a game. I mean, no. I mean that doesn't happen. But 1,000 yards this year. 1,000 yards this year. I'm going to say. Do I want him to? Yes, Willie. I don't think he will. No, I don't think he's going to get 1,000 yards this year.
Oh my gosh, you're insane. This guy has had 2 slow games and a few big ones. I think he goes up. He's going to get cooking again, I bet you. And 1,000 yards is like 60 yards a game or something. Like, this guy's going to get up in the 1,200.
Okay.
I mean, that's aggressive, to be honest. But I think he gets there. I think he hit a speed bump. Now everyone's like, I don't know about our run game. I don't know about carry on. Like, We're only 8 games through the year. I expect him to have a burr under his saddle here in Chicago and get it going again. But anyway, I just wanted to circle back.
Okay.
So go ahead and work your way through the quick positive negatives, and then we'll talk about keys to the second half.
Okay. Snacks and a hand. Even Ashawn Robinson, I think that's a nice foundation for the defensive line here for the next few years. It's nice to see Kenny. Like I said, he was what do you have, like two catches against Minnesota? So I don't know how he's going to handle, being like drawing more coverage.
Grifka, the guy's been thrown at, I think, one time, and he made one catch the previous week. He got 4 targets this game, and a run play. I mean, what's the guy supposed to do when we don't get him the football?
Like I said, he's drawing more coverage, though. I mean, so.
Oh, he's covered on all those plays. I'm sure he was never open. Don't make me turn the clock back to the game review. Did you happen to see a scramble out where he could have thrown the ball right to Kenny for a 60-yard touchdown, and instead our great quarterback decides, well, let me lead him by 5 yards where he wasn't even running to an incomplete. Like, that cost us the game too. I mean, if he just throws the ball directly at 19, that's a touchdown.
Okay. Okay.
You remember that play?
Yeah,
no?
I remember it. I don't know if that.
Yeah,
I don't know if that cost us the game per se, but it might be a little much.
It was a great scramble drill by Kenny and a terrible throw. I mean, this guy's open. Just get him the ball. All these other good receivers get 8 to 12 targets, and this guy probably averages about 4 or 5 targets a game for the season. That's just garbage.
You can't have it both ways. I mean, you want Marvin to get the ball a lot. I mean.
No, Marvin's your boy. I've been calling Kenny all day. I want Kenny and Kerryon to be the focus of this offense.
You can go back to one of our previous podcasts. You're like, no, they need to start getting the ball more to Marvin. I'm just like, well, I think Marvin's going to be okay with what he gets, but they're not going to tailor the offense just to go to Marvin Jones.
I said it's probably going to be a Marvin game because he hasn't been doing anything. I like Marvin Jones, but if you want me to, where does this offense run through now, the 2018 Lions? I want it to run through Kenny Galladay and Kerryon Johnson for the most part, because those are young, explosive athletes, and instead we're dinking and dunking with all these other people for no reason.
Okay. Let's move on, man, because we're just, like you said, we're arguing because we're just arguing right now.
No, because you're not making any sense.
Well, you're kind of backtracking on what you said before. I mean, you always want guys to hang around for 10 years and be these studs, but then I throw it out there and wait, I was thinking 3 years. I'm just okay, in 3 years we go draft another running back. I mean, and then
you don't listen, Grifka.
Once again, the establishment of Kenny. So, okay, let's move on.
No, we're not going to move on.
Not
we're going to go
my
back
favorite
for
part.
1 second.
Okay, go ahead.
The reason I blew up on you about, remember when you threw out Michael Roberts scoring 8 touchdowns and I blew up on you?
I said 5.
The reason I did.
I said 5.
Go check the tape, people. Get back to me.
I will check the tape. I said 5, and you're like, yeah, 5 touchdowns for a tight end's elite. I'm like, 5 touchdowns? He's got 3 now. I mean, that's not elite by any stretch of the imagination.
Chris,
by the way, he was targeted.
You're just lying to the people
against Minnesota.
Yeah. You got this, I don't know if you're making up your own answers, but you said that crazy comment about Roberts before he even came back off injury. Then he got 2 TDs and you were puffing your chest out. And I was like, hey, Grifka, he scored 2 touchdowns. Remember you said he'd score 8 touchdowns?
I didn't say 8.
I blew up on you.
You're like,
oh,
no,
it was
5 touchdowns. And you were like, oh, gosh, elite's that amount. I'm like, 5 touchdowns is elite for a tight end?
I did not say 5's elite for a tight end. I said 7 to 10's an elite tight end, and you had him up in that range.
I had him at 5. Go back and check. I'll go back and check the tape.
Okay, pull it up. Anyway, the reason I remember it that way is because you were giving a tight end crazy numbers that never done anything. The reason I'm calling you out a little bit on Kerryon is because he plays the running back position. You can't just say he's not a quarterback or an O-lineman where you pencil him in for 6 to 8 years. You have to be a little bit more conservative at that position. I still think he's a stud. I still want him here for 6 to 8 years. I just don't want to pencil him in because of the position he plays and the physicality he's going to ensue. And like you said, let it play out a little bit more. You were just jumping to conclusions, so I had to reel you back in a little bit.
Yeah, okay.
Go ahead.
Anyways, let's get to the negatives. Stafford, once again, he's showing why a lot of people question him as the team leader. He said it's an inconsistent play. He's he'll have one great game and then it'll look like his old self, like he did against Seattle and Minnesota, where he just looks like a second-year starter. I'm not for sure what his thing is. He's got the offensive coordinator that he liked, that he wanted to keep around, even though people said, he had nothing to do with it. But still, I think he maybe had a little bit of input on that. But for him having the offensive coordinator one, he looks not that great this year. The run defense, for as much as we wanted to improve, it just looks terrible. I don't know what it is. The linebackers look slow. You can disagree with me on that, but it seems like they're doing a lot of chasing, on things as opposed to being out in front of it. The inconsistent line play. There seems to be some major regression out of Taylor Decker, like you said here before. But even that right side of the line, the money they spent and invested on, it just doesn't seem to be panning out. So, like you said, if TJ Lang retires, which wouldn't be a bad thing, especially for his health, and I know we mentioned this in the preseason, going over our dollars and cents, if in 2 years when Rick Wagner's salary really, really increases, I could see him being a cap casualty. And the tough remaining schedule, it's looking more and more difficult for this team. I know they're still trying to tell fans that, we're still trying to make hay this year, but what they have coming up, it's not looking promising. This team's starting to look like a 5-win team with what they have coming up here. And then Tabor, he's a consummate, seems to be chasing everybody, and I just don't know if Reeves Mayman really has had a chance to play. Like I said, he just doesn't really kind of fit the scheme as the big linebacker that Matt Patricia likes to use. So I just don't think I think he's just kind of out of place on this team, and it might be one of those things, like, even if they deal him for like a 6th round pick, I could see that happening.
Yeah, well, sounds good. Now, everybody out there, we gotta reinforce some of the Grifka-isms so you understand. So I had to ping him when he said he's not that great, and then we also are gonna have to start pinging you, Grifka, with the bell when you consistently revert back to what we said on previous podcasts. Like, we want everybody to go back to the archives, but you're always sending them back or talking about some old show. It's all about the future, buddy. But everybody should go check out the archives.
Well, I listen to the old show sometimes just to kind of see what we said and be like, wow, either we were like, oh, we were kind of spot on with that, or like, wow, we were way off. What were we talking about? So they're kind of fun to listen to be honest with you.
To be honest with you, everybody, is another classic. All right, so Grifka, keys to the second half. We got to run the ball and stop the run. That's like all football, but like I feel with Snacks in there, we can stop the run. I feel if we could give the ball to carry on. Here's a thought: could we be a little more creative offensively? Could we have some runs to the outer edge? Could we do some creative things in the run game rather than run up the middle, throw the ball? Like, come on, JBC. I mean, we'll talk about him on a future show, but this guy is I'm running out of patience with him. Another key in the second half, in my opinion, is we got to get something out of Ziggy. Don't you think so, Grifka? I think this guy's going to have a big impact if he's healthy. I think, you're downplaying that sack, but that sack late as the second half ran out didn't give them a chance to put a touchdown on us, kept us right in the football game. That was huge. And needless to say, second half, Matt Stafford has got to step up. He's got to be more dynamic, and he's got to step up in big football games. This guy continues to play his worst in the biggest game. I haven't seen him be electric in a while where it's just like, wow, he won us that game, or he made some plays that barely any other quarterbacks make. He's like too mechanical now. He's thinking about it too much. He's not just playing. Get back to have him slinging the football. I'll deal with a few turnovers as long as he puts up, 300-400 yards and a bunch of touchdowns. So those are my keys. What do you got, Grifka?
One thing I read this week, like you said, you want to run the ball and stop the run. I read this week that the Lions, the type of offense they want is very similar to what Seattle does, where they're everybody says, oh, I want a balanced offense, I want a balanced offense. but they want an offense kind of like Seattle, where it's just a lot of pound up the middle, and the passing trees, like everything's like really it's not downfield. It's like how Kansas City this year has been going downfield a lot more. The Rams will pass the ball down the field. The Saints will pass the ball down the field. I mean, it's like big chunk plays. Well, Seattle doesn't do that, and it seems like that's what the Lions are not doing as well. And they're trying to do like kind of keep everything underneath that short to intermediate route. The 5-yard route to the 15-yard route. Max out at that. So. It's the safe throw that you're talking about, the more high percentage throw. And if they're trying to do that, that kind of takes away from, Stafford stepping up in big games he's not going to do those throws anymore where they're like, just the mad bomber, just throw it down the field. They're not going to do that anymore. So if they're looking for the methodical plod your way down the field offense, I don't think it's going to work here in the second half. I think you're right. They need to go back to Stafford, just, the gunslinger, Brett Favre, just chuck the ball around in the tight windows. If he gets picked off 2 times, okay. But, I'm going to live with the 295, 300 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. And then, our running game, getting, 65, 75, cracking 100 yards every once in a while, every few games and a touchdown. So you
agree with me on the Stafford slinging it?
Yes, I always love the gunslinger quarterbacks. I mean, like I said, people hate on me for liking Brett Favre, man, but Brett Favre was a gunslinger, man. He was just going to throw it up and let his guys go get it. I mean, my favorite quarterback of all time is Joe Namath. I mean, he's got more interceptions than touchdowns, but that guy still throw it up, man. Go get it. Chuck the ball, man. And you could have picked me on the Mad Bomber, man. That's Daryl LaMonica from the old Oakland Raiders, man, the old AFC. Go watch his highlights, man. They're awesome. He's just throwing the ball down the field to everybody. It's like, I'll go. Here's 50 yards downfield. Go get it. Love watching those films.
Okay.
But
you're killing our demo again. Hold on. I want to jump in. Let me jump in. So you acted like I said, hey, we want to be Seattle. We just want to run up the middle. I said run the ball, meaning like run the ball well. And stop the freaking run, which they haven't been able to do. I didn't say just run it up the middle for 2 yards in a cloud of dust.
No,
and
I
then
wasn't
Seattle, the reason like you're wrong there is Seattle pounds the football, but they don't just run it and then throw 2-yard passes. Like when they run it, Russell Wilson chucks the ball 50 yards down the field. I don't know what Russell Wilson you're watching. Maybe against the Lions he picked us apart. But every other game you watch, they grind people out, and then they throw it 50 yards when they throw it. Like, I would be more happy with that than what we do, which is nickel and dime everybody. And
that's a play action. I mean, of course, on a play action. The play action, your go route, your post route, all that should be open. But if you're talking a regular, like a 3rd and 8 play or something like that, they're just running stick routes. I mean, that's all they're running. They're just getting the sticks. They ain't going downfield on those. Of course, if you're running the ball, your play action should work, and that should work for anybody, and anybody's going to do that. Detroit's even done it. Detroit did it in Miami. But Seattle's offense is, run the ball and run the safe throws. That's what they do. They don't run they don't look to chuck the ball down the field like the Saints or the Rams, because the Rams got guys who can stretch the field. So they don't.
Okay, well, go check the stats. I bet you his yards per pass is way up there because maybe he does it on play actions, but they run play action all the time because they've been grinding the run game all game long.
Right, and I said that's what Detroit's looking for.
Okay, but we don't do it. How many times did I have to yell at some other buddies on Sunday and say the longest pass we have is like a 12-yard ball that can't at the end of the game? We didn't throw one football. I bet you 20 to 25 yards last game. None.
Right, that's the offense.
It's embarrassing.
It's the short to intermediate routes, nothing deep, over 15 downfield, because it's not it's high risk, high reward. I mean, so they don't want to do the high risk. They want it all. Okay, well,
we're not getting any rewards, and we have this big arm quarterback.
I agree with you. You can ding me on that. They got Trent Dilfer at quarterback. I mean, that's what they're running right now. Don't lose us the game. That's
We could
what it
have
seems
kept
like.
Kellen Moore if we wanted to throw 6-yard stick routes. I mean, with his noodle arm, he could have done that. Let's open it up. And the worst thing that usually happens is a huge play or a penalty, and we can't do anything explosive offensively. Like, I'm just so sick of this, man. It's like, when have we thrown up these bombs? When have we made any explosive play? I bet you if we looked at explosive plays all year, we probably have less than 10 total in the past game. It's week 8, or not week. We played 8 games. Like, that's just anyway. Go ahead.
Oh, and then getting something out of Ziggy, yeah, that would be a bonus. Even though it's just like I said, yeah, I think they've come to not expect him to play. So, he probably hurt his throat talking to the reporters, saying how great he felt after the game. So he'll probably be like a scratch, for some odd reason on Sunday because, like I said, they're in Chicago and he'll probably get wind burned on his face since it's cold and he won't be able to play.
Who wants our big freaky DN to play? Who had a big sack last week? You're right, Grifka.
Big sack. The big sack. He had a sack. I mean, give me a break.
He had a sack in a football game. He does that every week.
It was such a tide turner what he did. Oh, his sack where it's just like the pressure was there.
Man.
Kirk Cousins, a very below average quarterback, just kind of like fell to the ground and Ziggy walked up to him and tapped him on the shoulder. I got the sack. Congratulations.
Oh my gosh.
He was such a force in that game that Riley Reef manhandled him like the 12 plays that he was in there. It's just like, I feel great. Well, you should feel great. You played like a fifth of the game. Congratulations. Gosh. You just feel great drinking Gatorade on the sideline, watching the rest of the defense get gashed on the run. Congratulations there, Ziggy.
I'm glad you love this player that's on our team making a ton of money. But, hey, if you broke down his sacks per snap, he's probably played 30 snaps all year. He has 2 or 3 sacks. Like, what more do you want from a guy? If he has 1 sack a game, he has 16 for the year. You wouldn't take it? Get out of here. Like you can't downplay everything he does.
Is it impactful because he had a sack when they were down by 17 or 16 late in the game?
They were deep in our territory in the second half where we were going to get the ball at halftime, and he sacked the quarterback to end the half, and they kicked a field goal. You don't think that it was an impactful play? Are you watching the games? That was a big play.
Just because a guy gets a sack doesn't make it impactful. I think here we go, man. Once again, hey, Mr. ESPN, he had a highlight. All of a sudden, he's the greatest defensive end to ever play for the Lions. Okay. Oh, he came back from injury. He's fresh because he's been off for 7 weeks, and he got a sack right before halftime on one of the 12 snaps that he had. Congratulations, Ziggy. You made such a huge impact. The Lions went up to Minnesota and got their butt kicked. Congratulations, dude. I'm sure you're healthy enough to go into Allen Park on Tuesday and get your massive paycheck. See you next year playing for the Giants.
Tell me when your boy Big Play Slay plays 12 snaps, he gets a pick, and you're just like, oh, big deal. They're a tough guy.
At least he's out there. Slay's not getting pulled. He's playing 12 snaps. He's playing a heck of a lot more than 12. And just because they don't throw it at him, because Nevin Lawson and Tease Tabor are always running behind the defender, or they're always the defending from behind, running behind the wide receiver. I mean, give me a break.
Okay. Well, like you said, I knew it was going to be a contention. The guy shows up and plays, which you hate because you've been saying he wouldn't play for the rest of the year. He only plays 12 snaps, yet somehow he has a sack, and I think he had a few
He'll be hurt again by Thanksgiving. There. I'll bet you a pop on it. He'll be hurt again by Thanksgiving.
And that'll make you happy as a Lions fan, right, Griff? Because we don't need a big 6'5", 280-pound defensive end making plays.
That won't make me happy. I'm just come to expect. I'm prognosticating that's what'll happen.
Okay, well, you can always negative prognosticate when the guy he plays a little, but he makes a few plays. You can't give him a little credit. Like, I just don't get it. But anyway, go ahead, finish up.
I have this theory. I always have this theory that the guys that do the least amount of work get the most praise at a normal job because their boss wants that person to continue to work hard when they do something a little. So if you're going to just praise Ziggy for your 12 snaps, you got us that great job, buddy. Stay on the field. Forget that, man. You've worn out your welcome. Kick rocks. See you later. Sorry, that's the way I feel about him. Get lost.
It makes no sense because you're like,
oh yeah, and keeping Amir Abdullah keeping him around made a lot of sense because he was cheap, and they obviously did fine without him too. So see you later.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, you're always like, you got this thing. Oh, this makes more sense. This makes more sense. Why? Why does it make? Because it makes sense because you say it does. That excuse me. No, it doesn't. They got used to not playing with the guy. Oh, next man up. But now all of a sudden he's back. He has a sack.
Oh my gosh! What are you
took him
talking
out of
about right now?
It held him to a field goal. Who cares?
Can I mute
Big
Grifka,
deal.
please?
They still got ran. So they still got taken behind the shed, and like all of a sudden, like, oh, Ziggy, oh, the man love for Ziggy. Sorry. Oh yeah, he's a freak. He's a freak who barely plays. So let's not be like jonesing for the guy when he shows up like once every 7 Sundays. I mean, give me a break. Oh, he had all these sacks last year. He had a bunch of sacks against inferior left tackles, and when he actually played against somebody who was decent, he got held. I know you don't want to talk about last year because that's ancient history in your ESPN world, but no, I'm sorry. Him having 1 sack in a pressure, I'm not going to crown this guy like the defensive king of the game.
Oh, nobody said to crown him, Grifka, but you've been bagging on him for weeks saying he'd never play. He played, and he made a sack that, yes, was impactful, and you won't give him any credit. Or, hey, here's a thought. You're a Lions fan. You're on the Detroit Koolaid Cast. I thought you'd be sort of happy that this guy made a play or two, but I can see you're not. So finish up talking about this keys so we can move on because I'm done dealing with you on this. Like, it's ridiculous.
That was my last one, talking about the keys.
Okay, good. So, 94, keep doing what you're doing. So, terrible game in Minnesota. Just, rough first half. We got 8 games left. It's not looking pretty. Like I said, the schedule looks rough. This team's not playing good football. But we'll be previewing the Bears game, and I'll definitely have something for Grifka on Friday when we drop that show. So everybody stay tuned to that. Grifka, let's finish up with a few questions here that we got into the Kool-Aid mailbox, and then we'll get out of here.
Okay.
First question. This is from Joey, and Joey's out in Oregon. He wants to know, is Stafford, quote-unquote, the guy?
I guess he has to be based on what we have, but they've tied up a lot of money into him, and he's got a few more years left on this contract. So yeah, I guess he has to be the guy.
Yeah, I've been sitting here for years telling buddies, anybody that would listen, that this guy's the guy. Like, as each game goes by, where everything has to be perfect for him, or we make all these excuses. Like, I'm just running out of time and patience. Like, I still like him as our quarterback. I still like his talent, but I'm getting a little frustrated with the demeanor, Joey, in Oregon. Like, you got to be a leader. You got to be a little vocal. You got to, like, somebody was making a point that, like, Tom Brady yells just to get himself whipped up and going crazy. Like, it wouldn't hurt you to holler at somebody on the sideline just so they put them on notice every once in a while. It's 10 years. This guy's never lost his cool or blown up or done anything that I can remember other than a few comebacks and a bunch of stats. So, like, to me, he's the guy. He's locked up for the next 4 or 5 years. But can I please see a little emotion? Can I see a little bit of accountability instead of this aw shucks attitude? Let's go. Next question, Grifka, comes from Mike, and he says that he's from, instead of a city, he says he's from the greatest show on turf. Mike would like to know, is it time to move on from JBC?
I know we can talk about this on a whole nother show, but I believe so. I mean, it seems like his offense has become predictable. You mentioned it earlier about the run plays look awful predictable. The passing tree doesn't look that great, and I think we gotta move on from him and get somebody who wants to run something a little more dynamic.
Yeah, I'm done with this guy too. It's because of his lack of innovation, but here's the biggest reason. At first, I was like, "Oh, good, Stafford has a guy he gets along with. He'll continue to progress, and they'll like work on his offense and just sling it." And instead, they're just buddies now. Like, it's this guy that won't yell at Stafford, won't hold him accountable. Like, oh, I like what he does. We see the game the same way. Well, if that's the case, you guys suck, because the way that you see offense right now isn't like Andy Reid, Sean McVay, Sean Payton, all these guys that are innovating in the NFL. So JBC's got to go. Get an experienced coordinator in here and somebody that will ride. If he doesn't like it, he can get out And if he does like it, then he needs to just step up, make plays, and I'm done with him. So it won't happen until the off season, but they got to move on, and they got to get an experienced coordinator. I'm tired of looking for the next best thing. Let's get a guy that has a track record, and that's a little bit of a tough guy for this quarterback or the future quarterback. So that's my thoughts. Next question comes from Bruce in Texas. Bruce wants to know, better gimmick, the Snacks mouth guard or Glasgow's mustache?
I'm going to go with the mustache on that, simply because it seems like a lot of guys I'm starting to see a lot of those mouth guards that have, like, vampire teeth or, wolf teeth or whatever. I don't know whatever you want to call it, but I really like the stash myself.
Oh, man, I'm going with the Snacks mouth guard all day. The mouth guard comboed with the crazy helmet and the face mask and the big belly and the nickname is just incredible to me. So give me the Snacks mouth guard. Keep eating them up all day long, big fella. Final question, Grifka, comes from Stan from San Fran. And this question, Grifka, simply says, Stanquan, bring me back. What do you think?
Yeah, we could use him. I mean, considering what they just fired their special teams coordinator, and I realized he was probably some sort of a sacrificial lamb, but that special teams this year just has been utterly terrible. So, I mean, a couple more penalties on Sunday in Minnesota, and it just, gosh, there it is. Yeah, don't hit, bring him back. We could use somebody that knows actually how to coach special teams.
Grifka's heyday back there was Stan Kwan, and going back even further. But no, Stan Kwan, you can't come back. I loved goofing on you and saying your name, but you were terrible too. And our current guy was terrible. He got the boot, and I'm hoping that we don't find somebody that's terrible, because the special teams need to be better, and the defense and the offense. So let's get it going. They made a change just to make a change, but a lot of changes need to happen to get us turned around. So that's all the questions we have, Grifka. We're going to wrap up this show. Everybody, we'll be back on Friday morning with our Bears preview. We'll be talking about the Bears. We'll be doing some other fun items here and there, getting ready for that football game. We just encourage everybody, please give us a review. Please hit us up on Twitter. Me and Grifka don't use social media that much, but we're trying to get some Twitter followers, trying to post some stuff, and just a great way to get Lions content is jumping in the old Twitter machine. So check that out. Give us a subscribe on iTunes, and drink in that Detroit Koolaid. So everybody, we're going to get up out of here. Make sure to catch us Friday morning for that next podcast. Let's go get a win in Chicago. What do you think, Grifka?
Yeah, well, it's a definite that they win in Chicago.
Oh, tipping his hand for the Friday podcast. So we'll see what I got to say about the Bears game, and get all our predictions and everything set. But like you say, our Lions aren't playing good, but still got a half a season to play. We'll see what they do. So everybody drink that Detroit Kool-Aid. We'll catch you here soon. We're out.
Pack the bags, start the plane. This game is over. It is over. What a comeback by the Lions. Drink it in, man.